Welcome to a video that is entirely your fault. See, in part one, actually, if you haven't seen part one, the link is just up here and down there somewhere, and please watch that video because it does kind of explain what we're talking about here. But in part one, we asked you guys if you would like a part two of the most overrated Mercedes-Benz models, and your response was a resounding yes. So here we are. Also, again, this is your fault because you decided what cars made up this list. We trawled through Mercedes-Benz forums and fan pages and owners groups. We went through YouTube comments. We spoke to Mercedes-Benz technicians. So the overrated Mercedes that you're about to see in this list are on the list because you decided they should be. Therefore, if you don't like the cars that we mentioned in this list, don't yell at me, go and look in the mirror and yell at yourself because this is your fault. Anyway, kicking things off, it's the Sprinter. The Sprinter has been around in one way or another since the mid-1990s, appealing to those that need a big practical van yet also require that cool and classy image that only European vans can apparently provide. The problem is, and especially since about 2013, the Sprinter can be pretty bloody rubbish. It's basing its appeal on brand image rather than actual quality and reliability. Look, positives first. The Sprinter is one of the more enjoyable vans to drive. In all-wheel drive form, they're very capable. They're generally loaded with great features and equipment, and there are specific variants that with fastidious maintenance can be quite reliable. But specifically, 2015 and 2016 Sprinters are reported as being some of the most unreliable and problem-riddled vehicles in this segment. Interior accessory problems, brake issues, engine problems like DPF drums, fuel system problems and oil leaks, electronic gremlins, steering issues, even seating problems. Look, the list of common faults just goes on and on. Combine this with stupidly expensive parts and repair costs, and as appealing as the brand name may be, surely these are just far too overrated to ever consider buying. And be warned too, earlier Sprinters and Mercedes-Benz vans might seem appealing because they're cheap, but please do your homework because there are plenty of complaints about them too. Remember, nothing is more expensive than a cheap Mercedes-Benz. Okay, next up it is the Nissan Navara. Sorry, the Mercedes-Benz XClass. Hang on, they're the same thing, aren't they? In the X-Class's defense, it's not all Nissan Navara under the sheet metal. Quite a lot is exclusive to the Merc, like the suspension componentry, the rear disc brakes, some electronics, the interior trim, and in V6 form, the X-Class features a Mercedes-Benz 3-litre turbo diesel. Although that engine can also be found in the Chrysler 300C, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and a whole bunch of other Mercedes models. So it's not exactly all that special for the X-Class now, is it? Plus, for those owners and fans stating, oh, it's special because the V6 is a true Mercedes engine, hold your horses, guys. Being a Mercedes engine doesn't necessarily mean that it's any good. PCV problems, fuel injector issues that many have called the Black Death, turbo inlet seal leaks, timing chain and tensioner issues, turbo actuator problems, inlet carbon buildup complications, electronic gremlins. Look, maybe saving many thousands of dollars and just buying a Navara in the first place might be the smarter option. Look, obviously proper maintenance should hopefully mitigate many of these issues, but the real problem with the X-Class is the premium that you pay just for the badge. As we say with every four-wheel drive dual cab ute, they're all pretty good and they're all a bit shit. None of them are perfect. So just save your money and don't fall for the brand name hype because it's just not worth it. Next, E-Class. Specifically, we're referring to the 1995 to 2003 W210, which the marketing and hype told us was the absolute pinnacle when it comes to larger executive cars, when in reality, it was so riddled with issues, it was one of the cars that made Mercedes-Benz's quality, customer satisfaction, and reliability scores plummet off a cliff. Now, I should mention, this generation of E-Class has been available across more than 35 variants, and while most of them are guilty of some horrific issues, I'm sorry, but I refuse to say anything against the AMG E55, which is this. Because I don't care what you lot say, I adore this thing. Anyway, common problems, God, where do we even begin? Let's start with rust. Nearly all W210s will have some serious rust issues somewhere. Then there are electronic ignition switch problems, faulty injectors on diesel models, and the replacement injectors, they're not cheap, faulty electronics, air conditioning failures that require hugely costly repairs. Basically, thanks to these things being built during the Daimler Chrysler years, the cost-cutting measures are all too obvious these days. It really should have been a classic, but it's just simply overrated. Next, it's the E-Class's smaller sibling, the C-Class. Now, according to you guys and the experts, the most overrated of the lot here is apparently the 1994 to 2000 W202. And the major problem is that many people on a tight budget, they see these for sale for well under $10,000 and assume because it's a Mercedes-Benz, it must surely be built like a tank and therefore for that price must be the bargain of the century. No, these are terrible. Actually, some of the problems are so insane, they're almost verging on being funny. For example, the water-based paint, which yes was more environmentally friendly, however, with no galvanizing process combined with steel that wasn't very corrosion resistant, the paint offered less protection from rust, and hence why these things corrode everywhere, including around the suspension components, which in the worst case scenario can cause the suspension to completely collapse. Then there's the wiring harness insulation, which is made from soybeans. Seriously, soybeans. Not sure if you know this, but soybeans are biodegradable, and therefore the wiring harness becomes brittle and falls apart over time. This then exposes the wires underneath, causing multiple short circuits and various electrical systems to malfunction. On top of these, then you have the head gasket failures, oil leaks, injector issues on the diesel models. Look, the issues just go on and on and on. And look, yes, there are owners out there that love and adore them and have never had a problem, but overall, these are a disgrace to the Mercedes-Benz brand. What an absolute dog of a car. Now guys, we need your help. Next week, we're going to be doing the top 5 underrated Mercedes-Benzes of all time. Not the fastest, not the most luxurious, not the best, just the ones that deserve far more credit and attention than they get. What do you think should make up the list? We need your help. Let us know in the comments. Oh, also, while you're doing that, can you hit the subscribe button and share this video and ReDriven with your mates? Because just doing those simple things, honestly, it helps us out more than you know. Okay, taking it out for part 2, it's the S-Class. Now, if you've seen ReDriven before, you may have stumbled on our W222 S-Class review video, this one just here. And as wonderful as that S-Class was to drive, my goodness, it has some, let's say, interesting idiosyncrasies. But as shocking as even it was, the S-Class that you guys and the experts deem as the most overrated is the 1998 to 2006 W220. Now notice how the last 3 cars all sit in that same mid-90s to early 2000s timeframe. Not a high point in Mercedes history, it seems. And that's what happens when the guy in charge decides that a drastic lowering of production costs will be the best method of making a quick buck for the shareholders. That's actually exactly what happened. Anyway, what's so overrated when it comes to this particular S-Class? Well, prior S-Class and high-end Mercedes-Benz models had been over-engineered pieces of mobile excellence, examples of the industry standard that other manufacturers rarely, if ever, could match. The W220, however, delivered the polar opposite. Even when brand spanking new, it was under-engineered and problem-riddled. The variety of 6- and 8-cylinder power plants are generally underwhelming, the exterior design is mildly offensive at best and downright ugly at worst, and the interior materials are an embarrassment for what's supposed to be the best of the best. But when used, it gets worse, like so much worse. Corrosion is a major issue. They're riddled with countless electronic gremlins. Transmissions can catastrophically fail. The airmatic suspension has issues. No matter which engine, most of them leak oil and many of the ancillary systems can let go. Plus, being a Mercedes-Benz and being an S-Class, the cost of parts and repairs can be horrifically expensive, hence why they have plummeted in value. But again, our worry is that many on a budget will fall for the trap that a Mercedes-Benz S-Class is surely the pinnacle when it comes to cars, failing to take into account that these can be a financial money pit. And sorry S-Class fans, but as the research shows and as our review alluded to, successive generations of S-Class aren't without their faults either. Look, yes, they're beautiful to drive when they work, and yes, they are loaded with features and equipment, but the more gadgets, the more potential problems. Also, again, I just spat all over the camera, rather than the actual quality and quite a lot is exclusive to the Merc, like the suspension, beep. In the X-Class's defense, with no galvanizing process combined with the steel that wasn't very corrosion resistant, but honestly, this thing's just a disgrace to the Mercedes-Benz band. Good band. Hot band, Mercedes-Benz. What are the most my batteries are going slow. So, what did you think of your list? Do you agree with yourself? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget, what are the most underrated Mercedes-Benz models? Write them down there. We'll see you next time.